Hi, everyone, and welcome to part 5. Congratulations on making it to the end of this series. And in this video, we'll explore practical examples that are based on your assignments to help you prepare for the course content. So remember, you do not have to use AI. If you choose to go that route, you can just submit your outline. I am perfectly happy to accept that. But reach out, if you guys have questions about any of the assignment instructions or even if you just want to know about AI, but maybe don't want to use it or something like that, just, reach out. I'm happy to chat with you about it. So let's get rolling. So we've got this how to structure your essay template. And believe it or not, I pulled this off of Microsoft Word. I think I used something when I was searching the templates. I was looking for like research paper outline template or something like that. So you can easily pull this off Microsoft Word, but I provided the copy for you. I would really like for you to use this as you complete the outline assignment. Remember that this first part should be pretty rudimentary. You're going to use your own verbiage, your own skills. Nothing about your initial copy should include any sort of AI in it. And so now you could essentially, like the part where you capture the reader's interest, if you wanted to go ahead and use chat to find a quote from a primary source, from a historian, if you're looking for statistical data from scholars, you could go ahead and use AI for those things. Just make sure, like I said in a previous video, you know that the quote actually did come from a scholar and you know which source it came from. It's not a paraphrase. You can also quote the course material. I highly encourage you to use the course material, and really you should use the course material first as you complete your assignments and then branch out into other sources. So typically the final sentence of your first paragraph is the thesis statement. As you prepare to plug this into AI, make sure you indicate where the thesis is, what it is, so AI is in the know. And then you have your points that support it. So you got your first main point and your subpoints with examples, second, third, and so on. And then you have a conclusion, and your conclusion should avoid offering new information, restate the thesis in a new way, and summarize the main points that were used to support it. And so that's your basic structure. I know some of you may not enjoy working off of an outline, but it really does give you a good backbone, and it allows you an opportunity to create your own work while combining your thoughts with AI to get, suggestions on things that you could do to improve. So here's an example. We've got religion's role in Western civilization was the topic of this particular paper. She talked about what religion is. She clearly explained her thesis statement here. And note that, and I'll get to this in just a minute, normally your thesis statement is one sentence. It could be two, but a one sentence thesis is a little bit more refined. And then she has her subpoints here. Now, this is the one that I plugged into chat just to see what would happen, and this is what I got. So I asked it very specific questions. Remember to be very specific. I said, please review this outline. How can my thesis be strengthened? Did I support my argument well? How can I improve? And then I just kind of pasted the paper in after that. So don't worry about trying to format it. Chat can kind of read through that. And so let's see what it said. Well, thanks for sharing your outline. It says you're on the right track with a strong central idea about the impact of religion on Western civilization. However, your thesis and supporting points can be strengthened with a clearer focus, more specific evidence, and tighter connections between ideas. And then it kind of gives some examples here. It talks about wordiness, grammar, precision. And it's interesting, the revised thesis is still 2 sentences, so chat didn't necessarily refine it to that level, which you could, but technically you don't have to, but it's helpful to have it as one clear, concise sentence. So then it goes into other details that can be added. It talks about the body paragraph architecture. Now, this is where I noticed it didn't incorporate the course content. So remember, I said it's not taken the course. And so as an instructor, when I'm grading your papers, I'm going to specifically be looking for evidence that you read the course content. And if you use ChatGPT or a similar AI tool, it's going to give you good information most of the time. Now, if you've read the course content, here's the caveat. You're going to be well read on the topic. You're going to have read historically accurate information. So if chat gives you something that's historically inaccurate, then you will recognize that hopefully pretty quickly. You'll also have the work of scholars under your belt and other things. So just make sure that you have read the course content and you incorporate that into your paper. So specifically, I know this class because I designed it, and I asked it specifically to add details about Roman architecture, right? So this mostly talks about the Byzantine Empire, and the Roman world was also Christianized. A lot of that lends itself to this particular part of the paper, and so I'm looking for that specifically, which chat didn't catch because it didn't take the course. So I also asked it, where did it get this information? I think it cut off my question here at the top, but I asked it, where did it get this information? Chat says, great question. Very responsible move on your part. Everything I shared is based on well-established scholarly research in Western architectural history, theology, and medieval studies. I'll outline where this information comes from and give you specific scholars and works that you can reference in your essay. And so as you look up these other sources that chat is using, and you could ask it, you could pull the course content, ask it to use that. Please make sure you read the course content, avoid using chat to summarize it and things like that. If it's, some of these things are journal articles, they're 10 pages or whatever. If you're having trouble understanding what the assigned reading, certainly you can plug that into chat and ask it to help you understand anything, like maybe a certain sentence, or if there's vocabulary you don't know, look those words up, things like that. Add to your vocabulary. As you read, you will grow your vocabulary just by reading those words and being exposed to them, being familiar with them. And the more, what I will say to you is that the more you read upper level reading, the better you'll get at it. And if you don't practice it, you're not going to grow in that particular skill. And so, of course, you want to emerge as a college graduate with a good vocabulary, with these skills under your belt. And if you chat GPT everything, you're really cheating yourself that opportunity to grow and be a better you. And so, but when you look up these sources, take the time to go to the library and, the online library. You can look up, who is Otto von Simpson? What is this book? Take a look at the table of contents of the book. Read the preface. A lot of times you don't need to read the whole book. You can read the preface, which students take, a lot of students skip the preface. They think it's not a big deal, but really you can almost read the preface and get the main ideas of the book. And then when you get into the body of the book, you get all the detail about, the research questions and the focus and what the author wants to argue and things like that. So don't give into the temptation to forego reading the preface, because it's an important aspect of any book. And so, but I asked chat, let's keep going. Like, we want to ask good questions, right? And so my next question is, who was Otto von Simpson and what makes him a scholar or expert in the topic? And so then they told me he's a German-American art historian. And so that lends itself to architecture, religious architecture, talks about where he went to school, where he studied, what he does, things like that. And again, you can do a search and verify this information. So then I asked, the part that it left out that's in the course content, I asked it, what about ancient Rome? How does the architecture in ancient Rome lend itself to Western civilization, even in modern day? And so, because that's in the assigned reading. And so then it kind of pulls up some information about that. And again, if you haven't read the course content, you may not know that that's in there. And then, when I'm grading your paper, I'm going to go, okay, I didn't assign them very much about the Byzantine Empire and architecture, but I did assign them this, and they're not really picking up on that. So it would kind of clue me in that, like, maybe you didn't read all the information. So then you have this annotated bibliography assignment. And the idea here is that it should look just like this. So you've got your APA formatted citation, and it should have a title page. I didn't include that in the screenshot, but your title page should not be plugged into ChatGPT or any AI program. Remember that. We talked about that in previous videos. And then when you complete the bibliography after your title page, you title the bibliography, And then the annotation is about 150 words below the source. And you can put it just like this, how the student has it here. You're going to talk about who the author is, what makes them an expert, why does the content in this source align with your thesis statement? You need to explain that, because when you plug it into AI, you're going to ask it, and you're going to make sure AI knows your thesis. And do these sources support my thesis? Are there better sources from scholarly authors that I could use instead, right? And find out what chat says. Now, what I found in this particular assignment is that chat sometimes like to label people who are scholars as if they're not, and vice versa. And one of the reasons for that, if you're watching a video on YouTube, it may attribute the author of your source to the uploader. Right. So I assigned the students a video by Mary Beard, who's a renowned historian, but it attributed it to the uploader, not Mary Beard. And so then all of a sudden it thought that it wasn't a scholarly source. Now, some students caught that. Others just took chat at its word and they said, oh, I'm going to throw that one out, when actually it was good, and it actually matched their thesis statement, everything. So you've got to use an element of human effort. But it was the annotated bibliography assignment that I saw more errors from chat than with the outline assignment. So so then it kind of goes into the sources, and it goes through each one, talks about, here's what you could do, here's some suggestions, things like that. And so, it talks about Mary Beard. And in this particular one, it did get her video correct, but it didn't do that in every single one. And so if you use chat or some kind of AI tool to cite everything, make sure it cites the actual author, the actual video, not YouTube. And, and if it does do that, you can ask it, if you see that it's cited the uploader and YouTube, specifically go back and say, please use the author and avoid citing YouTube. Or YouTube uploaders or whatever. And it may ask you, okay, I need more information. Who's the author? Well, then you're going to have to go look that up and get the information you need, plug it in, and it'll take care of it for you. Or you can use the, you can just ask it for a basic APA citation of a film, and then you can plug that information in yourself if you like. I tell you, the more you do citations on your own, the better you'll get at them, and eventually you won't even need help because you'll just know how to do it. I was told by a very good friend, this was way back, I'm going to age myself, Noodlebib was the thing when I was in college, and my friend said, don't be using no Doodlebib, and she said, just do it yourself and you'll figure it out. And it's very true. You train your brain the more that you use it. So in summary, this is the last segment. I hope it's been helpful to you, that these screenshots kind of show you what it's going to look like when you plug in your information for your outline, your thesis, your sources, and that sort of thing. I hope it was inspirational, that this video series as a whole has been inspirational, that it's shown you things that maybe you didn't understand before about AI. I hope that you emerge from this class with some AI skill that maybe you didn't have. Maybe you had skill before, but I hope you have more skill now. And I hope that you have the confidence to apply AI in meaningful and thoughtful ways. Thank you.